Sonny, you have a legal note.
I do have a legal note. Thank you, Whoopi. Matt Gaetz has long denied all allegations, calling the claims, quote, invented, and saying in a statement to ABC News that this false smear following a 3-year criminal investigation should be viewed with great skepticism. That DOJ investigation was closed with no charges being brought.
Sunny Hostin, the bold and unapologetic co-host of The View, has built a career on her fierce advocacy for justice, transparency, and integrity. Known for her outspoken criticism of political corruption and systemic inequality, she's a voice that doesn't back down. But now, a personal scandal has thrust her into a storm she likely never saw coming, and it's raising some uncomfortable questions that are impossible to ignore. Her husband, Dr. Emmanuel Hostin, a prominent orthopedic surgeon, is now at the center of a bombshell $450 million RICO lawsuit that's shaking up both the healthcare industry and the public image of the Hostin family. The explosive claims suggest that Dr. Hostin is deeply involved in a massive insurance fraud operation, accused of performing unnecessary surgeries and accepting kickbacks in exchange for patient referrals. If these allegations are proven true, not only would they ruin his professional reputation, but they could also damage Sunny's own credibility. Is this a case of do as I say, not as I do? Let's dive into the details and examine the potential double standards at play.
Dr. Emmanuel Hostin, an orthopedic surgeon and husband of The View co-host Sunny Hostin, is accused in December lawsuit fraudulently billing insurance. By the way, this is a Daily Caller story I'm reading. The lawsuit alleges Hostin knowingly provided fraudulent medical and other healthcare services in exchange for kickbacks and or compensation, and names him among nearly 200 defendants in one of New York's largest RICO cases. Wow. Hostin's attorney, Daniel Twites, denies the allegations, calling the lawsuit a meritless attempt by a near-bankrupt insurance carrier to intimidate doctors and restrict healthcare benefits. The case involves claims that Hostin performs unnecessary surgeries on patients after minor accidents without exploring less invasive treatments, with American Transit citing New York's 1974 no-fault law as contributing to widespread insurance fraud.
The lawsuit, filed in December, accuses Dr. Hostin of being part of a coordinated effort to defraud insurance companies through fraudulent billing practices. The charges are shocking. Dr. Hostin, along with nearly 200 other defendants, allegedly performed unnecessary surgeries on patients who had only minor injuries, bypassing more appropriate treatments like physical therapy. In some instances, injuries were allegedly exaggerated to justify invasive procedures. If proven, this not only jeopardizes patients' health, but also inflates healthcare costs, as insurance companies are forced to cover these inflated treatments. The scale of the operation is even more concerning. Surgery centers reportedly pay doctors like Dr. Hostin kickbacks in exchange for patient referrals, creating a financial system that could put profit before patient safety. This scandal goes far beyond the individuals involved. At the heart of the case is a demand for $450 million in damages, putting a glaring spotlight on the deeper systemic issues within healthcare and insurance. Critics argue that schemes like this not only defraud insurance companies, but also drive up premiums for ordinary Americans, who are already struggling with rising healthcare costs.
I mean, I agree with mostly everything that's been said. I mean, we know that, only about 31% of Americans trust our healthcare system. We have a terrible healthcare system. And doctors suffer because of big corporations as well. Doctors that want to do good, like my husband, operates on someone even though they don't have insurance, and then has to sue health insurance companies to get paid for the work that he's been trained his whole life to do. So there are a lot of problems with it. But the notion that we are in a violent country, this country was built on violence. We're a very violent country. And it's just undeniable that that's the case. And so I'm not, unfortunately, surprised that people are celebrating the use of violence.
Public opinion about Dr. Hostin, once seen as a trusted surgeon, is now on shaky ground. And by extension, Sunny's reputation is under scrutiny as well. Dr. Hostin's legal team has vehemently denied the allegations, calling the lawsuit a baseless move by an insurance company trying to avoid paying legitimate claims. But that defense only opens up further questions. Is there an industry-wide culture that enables fraudulent practices to thrive at the expense of both doctors and patients? The plot thickens when we consider Sunny Hostin's public defense of her husband. On The View, she has spoken out in his favor, framing the lawsuit as an overreach by a financially struggling insurance company and defending Dr. Hostin's intentions. What initially seemed like a loving defense of her husband's commitment to his patients now raises uncomfortable questions. Could this be seen as an inadvertent endorsement of the very practices at the heart of the $450 million lawsuit? This has led many to wonder, how can Sunny, a passionate advocate for accountability, overlook such serious allegations when they hit so close to home? This apparent contradiction has ignited a firestorm of criticism, with many questioning whether her commitment to justice is as unwavering as she claims. Is she willing to hold her own family accountable, or are her principles only applicable to others?
I was at my daughter's high school graduation.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I didn't feel somber. I felt like the Knicks won the tournament. I felt like America won.
Yep.
I felt like New York won. I felt like the Manhattan DA's office won. I felt like I won.
For years, Sunny has positioned herself as a moral voice, using her platform on The View to take on corporate greed, political corruption, and the ethical failings of public figures. She's made a name for herself by fiercely holding powerful people to account, from conservative politicians like Matt Gaetz and Donald Trump to the wealthiest corporate elites. But when it comes to her husband's legal troubles, her response has been strikingly different. Instead of confronting the serious allegations head-on, she has been more defensive of the system her husband is accused of exploiting. This double standard has fueled accusations of hypocrisy, with critics questioning why she's so quick to condemn others, but hesitant to apply the same level of scrutiny to her own family. Does Sunny's call for justice only apply when it's someone else in the hot seat?
I mean, you're married. Tom, you're married. If your husband's doing something, if he's allegedly doing something like this, you guys would know if your wives were up to some nefarious stuff. Let's just not forget who she is. She's been, for years, lecturing America about morality, inequality, systemic failures, and look at her track record. How many times does she have to go on in the past 2 months and look at the camera and do a legal apology?
The controversy surrounding Sunny Hostin is part of a larger conversation about media coverage and bias. For years, Sunny has been a vocal critic of the so-called elite establishment, accusing conservative figures and corporate moguls of avoiding accountability. Yet the media's reaction to her family's scandal has been notably muted. Despite the gravity of the accusations, mainstream media outlets have barely covered the lawsuit. In contrast, conservative figures often find themselves under intense media scrutiny, regardless of whether the allegations against them are substantiated. This discrepancy has sparked accusations of media favoritism, with some arguing that high-profile figures, especially those on the liberal side of the political spectrum, enjoy a level of protection from the same level of scrutiny faced by their conservative counterparts.
The people that always do the pointing, and it always comes back to them, all right? So when you said this is the largest RICO case ever filed in the state of New York, you guys wrap that around your brain. That's bigger than the mafia case. Like the mafia one was number one. This one takes it over. So he was scamming insurance companies from taxi drivers, Uber drivers, and Lyft drivers. He was performing unnecessary surgeries and then providing fraudulent medical services in exchange.
The lack of media attention on the Hostin case raises uncomfortable questions about the privileges that come with being a well-connected figure in the media and political world. In the end, this controversy underscores the tension between Sunny Hostin's public image as a crusader for justice and the private reality of her family's legal troubles. For years, she has championed transparency and accountability, but her response to the scandal involving her husband has left many